And our last speakers for today are actually two gentlemen. It's Mark and Kevin, and they are publishing their new book, Community Powered Journalism, a manual for growth and sustainability in independent news. And as far as I know, this book will be also offering different models, how to earn money and gain audience, but I will let them explain themselves. So Mark, I assume you are the first speaker. Please go ahead.
Sure, thank you very much, Inga. And listen, thanks to everybody who's been presenting so far. For me, one of the reliefs was hearing that, on the basis of our work with small scale and some medium scale independent media over the last years, we have not yet devised a formula for ruin. Okay, what's happening at the top of the business where people have more means to invest than a lot of the startups and scale-ups that we deal with are moving in the same direction. I wish some more of those solutions could be open source because, we're aware that there are going to be challenges for people who don't have a lot to invest. And I wish that, computer schools and business schools would start turning out data people who wanted to save democracy and keep the world smarter. But, those are relationships we'll be building as we go along. Okay, let's go to the first slide, Kevin. I'm going to focus on a few key points here because we only have 5 minutes. The first thing is that when we're talking about independent media, we're talking about media that are serving communities of practice and interest. This is something that the internet has been training people to do for 20 years through user forums, bulletin boards, however far back you want to go. There's a fragmentation that's occurred in the audience. Rasmus and his team have done a great job of documenting that over the years. So rather than fight against that and say, let's break out of our silo, well, how deep is the silo? How wide is the silo? What's next to it on the farm? These are the kind of questions that we're asking. And we see a change in the mission occurring here. Rasmus spoke of respect at the beginning, and my little heart beat faster. Because one of the things that happened in our profession over the last 20 years as a secular decline began was that we stopped fighting for the interests of the people who were looking at us. And we think it's important to protect their interests, including by helping them to avoid sad mistakes. We think it's important to promote their economic interests so that their lives are better tomorrow than they are today. And we want to help them win their fights. In the news business, we're coming to this across the board more or less slowly, but I see it happening. I want to mention that NGOs pioneered this approach beginning in the mid-1990s, and it's one of the reasons that Greenpeace has 3 million paying customers who, by the way, are competing with us for news about the environment. The way we're going to prosper here is that we have to grow the value in these communities. We have to make them wealthier, and then we take our share of it. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, now, I have only admiration for Thomas Bella, on many, many grounds. But I'm surprised that you're still around, Thomas, because business was clearly an afterthought for your organization. If we have any advantage as startups and scale-ups, it's that we're in a greenfield situation. We can build business into our operations in a different way. This is going to extend into the newsroom, where there is a major debate going on over whether objectivity means neutrality. We saw the Post and the New York Times grappling with that during the Trump administration. It's not over yet. Okay, this is going to be a trend for the rest of our lives as our publics become more partisan as well. And finally, I was very, very happy to hear that in Govik's situation, journalists are actually thinking about the marketing of their stories as well, looking at the, gender breakdown of the stories. Okay, I mean, we're all marketers. We speak about this at length in the book, and precisely what that means for the different roles of people within the organization. But, one way or another, the Chinese wall between editorial and business operations is going to come down or is going to have new gates in it. And journalists will be going through those gates. The days when we threw a story over the wall and hoped that it landed on someone are over. We're in a fight to get attention, not just from other news media or people who think that news is something you make up every day, but with people like Netflix. We have to be reaching out all the time and reminding them of why they need us and what we're bringing to them. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Part of this means that, you know, the nature of our business is changing. We're not just information providers. We're making relationships with the people who use us. Their success is our success. So we have a stake in each other's prosperity. You know, people have talked about user experience in a very good way here. I won't speak about that. It's clear that there are new technologies coming forth to listening to users. We would like to come in. Inga asked a question early on about the role of solutions in the journalism we're doing. We think that it's absolutely essential. We're quite aware of the constructive journalism people, the solutions journalism network, and all of that. But we think that, well, to use the example of Greenpeace, you don't go to Greenpeace to find out that the environment matters. You go there to find out what you can do to save the environment. This is going to be happening more and more in our business. Jay Rosen was the first guy who talked about it in the 1990s. Over the years, I've come to recognize he was right. And that will be part of protecting our communities, promoting their interests, and helping them prevail. Next slide, please. Finally, data. Data has been running through every presentation I've heard here. Now, most of the organizations that were represented here today have greater tech stacks than startups or scale-ups typically have. But there are a couple of things that everybody needs to be doing, and some people aren't. One is anytime you meet anybody who's interested in what you're doing, you collect their information. Doesn't matter how you are in contact with them, you collect that information, you archive it, you put it in MailChimp. You put it in whatever you can afford that can be upgraded to something later. But we need to be going further. We need to be mapping out the people who are using us, understanding the structures of their communities, how we can become part of those structures, how we can move to them. And we have to start with whatever we have on hand. We can't wait for a cheap and easy solution to come along. Kim Perry's presentation was extraordinarily in that regard. You know, I've always thought of the New York Times as a rich organization that can do what it wants. I know, nobody ever has enough resources. But you know, to hear what you had to go through to get these procedures through the organization was an eye-opener for me. And everybody who's in this conference is going to be going through this in permanence at whatever level you're at. This is not ancillary. We're going to be thinking of our organizations in a different way. Everybody is going to be on everybody else's team to some extent because they're going to have to be working together toward the common solutions. Kevin, that's about all I have to say, except this is where you get the book. It's a free download for the next week. After that, it's going to be 10 euros. So please get it now. You can't say you weren't warned. And I'll hand it over to Kevin if he has any remarks he'd like to add. Oh, yeah, by the way, thanks very much to the Anne-Marie and Gustav Anders Center for becoming our publishing partner on this. Okay, this was a labor of love, and they stepped in when it became concrete. Thanks, folks. Kevin, over to you.
Yeah, I feel like Teller and Penn and Teller, for those who know who that is. I actually can speak. So this book came out of, really, it was born at the Media Center. Mark and I have both been working on this Future Media Manager program for a while now. I just wanted to say, first of all, today is the day that we are announcing the book. This is effectively our announcement right here. As Mark said, it is available for download for a week. And then we are also going to be printing some hard copies, and it'll be used as a text within the school in Riga. I just wanted to thank a few people, not the least of which Anders, Alexanderson, and Sabina, and Jana have been tremendous supporters over the years for this. This book really is for people who are both in it and also want to be in it, right? So this is as much for people, media managers, as it is for media entrepreneurs and people who are starting to strike out on their own. We see this as something that works for people who are independent news, regardless of their business model or whether their tax status is nonprofit or not. So we're very excited about it. And once again, want to thank the Center for this. That's it from me.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for being with us.